So the question is, did God save Trump? Welcome back to the What's the Dill podcast. I'm your host, Pete Dill. This is episode 111. We're going to discuss the most viral questions about the Catholic faith. Thank you for tuning in, watching, checking in with me. I appreciate you all as always. We got a lot of great questions for you today. Some really tough ones, including some very shocking news and recent events, and get into that at the end of the episode. Starting off, we have a great question I saw and I read about. It says, how do I know what God is calling me to do? For years, I was set on being a firefighter, something I felt really called to, and something my father did, which he described as the best thing he ever did. I was set on firefighting until my teacher, who I had, talked to me and said I'd be a really good pastor. I never wanted to be one. However, it made me question if being a firefighter was what I wanted or what God wanted. I'm still set on being a firefighter. However, I don't want a career in it if I'm always wondering if I should have been a priest or done something like that. What should I do? I relate to this very, very much. I think a lot of people relate to this. Not knowing what to do with your career, not knowing what to do with your mission in life, that stuff that you put your time to, your career field. And I think it's not, very few people have very clear idea of what they want to do for their career, what they want to do for, their mission in life. It's not easy. I know for one, I'm ADD. All right. Like, I feel like I'm ADD. I always want to try something new. I'm always being convinced that I could do something new, or maybe I should try that, or maybe I should do this, or maybe I could have done that. Maybe I could do this. I feel like I'm good at a lot of things, and therefore I feel like I can do anything. And I've had to really put the brakes on projects or things I can get into or want to get into to put my focus onto the things that I'm good at or the things I'm doing currently. You don't believe me that I'm ADD with career and things I could do in my life? Here's a little list of things that I was serious about for a day or two of what maybe I could do in the past 10 years. Number one, become an Olympian. I was convinced that I could become a triathlon Olympian. I was convinced I could become a triathlon Olympian. And I looked up how to train to be a triathlete. See, I don't even know how to say it. But I looked up how to compete in triathlons and what it would take to make the next Olympics. Actually, it was in 2020. And I was like, could I make the 2024 Paris Olympics? And, it was the heat of the pandemic, so a lot of things go through my mind. And I looked up, training checkpoints and what you have to qualify for. And you have to get sponsored. And I was dead set on it. I was like, I think I may become an Olympian. In my 30s, I looked up oldest Olympian to win a gold medal. He was 39-year-old. A guy does archery. I was like, all right, well, I was convinced. And then, after a day or two, I was kind of like, well, let me just go for a few runs and see how I feel. Number two, brewery phase. Wanted to start a brewery. This was a couple years ago. I was pretty set on starting a brewery. I was like, maybe I should start a brewery, have a place where it could be people could gather, community can come together. That's really good thing. God wants community. God wants people to come together. Maybe it could be a brewery. They could have a back room for, people to come and they could have prayer there. Then I looked up how to brew your own beer. And it was just the compounds in CO2 mix well with the air in night. So make sure that the dew point of your mixture is just oh gosh, this is so much science. Kind of more into the hanging out part of a brewery rather than a brewery. So that kind of, it's still in the back burner a little bit maybe, but that kind of faded out a little bit. Another one, become an astronaut or join NASA. After I watched a few astronaut movies, I was like, gosh, what would it be like to work for NASA? That'd be really fun. NASA, I wonder, what does it take to just be on the team in NASA? Maybe not be an astronaut, but what if you're just on the marketing team in NASA? I've thought about that for a while. This one I've talked about, be a CIA agent. I've talked about this. I've never become one. Or have I become a CIA agent? I always have wanted to maybe be like the intelligence world, love CIA movies, books, real life. Thought about that for a while. I was like, maybe I could join. Like, is there like a low level entrance you can have where like you're going off on secret missions, but you're coming back and have a normal life? Another last one of many, getting a PhD in theology. Like, maybe I should go get a PhD in theology. Should I do that? Should I get a PhD in theology? Yeah, I don't know. What does UT have a doctor program? Does Steubenville have a remote program? Like, these are all real things that I thought, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. And all of them were aligned with, like, serving God somehow. So those are all real. I've really all had those thoughts of things I could do in my life. And I have literally 50 more that I've thought of things I could do. That's just how my brain works. Tomorrow I could have an idea of like, you know what I could do? Maybe I could start a furniture shop and then people could come and have jobs at the furniture shop. My mind's always going like that. But something that I have, which I think this person has, is like, well, if I can serve God here and serve God there, and I like this thing, I kind of like this thing, is this good? Is that good? How do we serve God in the things that come to our minds? Or what should be, what should we do? How, as the person asks, how do I know what God is calling me to do? So a couple of things that have worked for me, as I've said all those things, and I've tried to like, as I've tried to be focused on my career, focused on my service, focused on my mission, is number one, having the courage to just try things out. Like, I think that's always really, really helped me. Just like trying things out. In the future episodes or whatever, I could talk about all the things I've tried. I've tried a lot in my life of activities, hobbies, this, that. Like, I've tried things. I've went places. I've gone here. I've gone there. I've tried it out. And that's always helped me, like, put my mind, like, on, like, am I still going to want to do this in 6 months? Am I still going to want to do this in 6 years? So here's an example. Like, I was talking about the brewery stuff. Well, I looked up and said, well, let me try to brew one beer. Let me try to brew a batch of beer and see how that feels. Before opening a brewery, let me just try out brewing a batch of beer. I couldn't even get through the ingredients of how to do it. I was like, this sounds like a lot of work, and I feel like if I had a brewery, it'd be a lot of brewing the beer and not a lot of hanging out with the people at the brewery. Maybe I could just go to a brewery and hang out with friends rather than own a brewery. So I kind of was like, yeah, I don't know if that's really like where a path I want to go down. What's something that I have tried out? This podcast. I said, let me just try out, let me make 3 episodes of this podcast. Let me just see how it feels. See if I could do it. What's the process like? And 100 plus episodes later, I'm still doing it. So I've stuck to this, because I think this is in my talent wheelhouse. It's something I like to do, I'm able to do, and I think it's great. I think God is calling me to do this. So I tried this out, and yeah, I've learned a lot along the way, but I've kept doing it. But the brewery happened. So try something out. Try it out. Try the thing you want out. For this person, this guy, if you feel like you could be a good pastor or a good priest, maybe try giving a speech or a talk at your local parish or your local men's group or a campus, outreach. Try giving a talk. Try writing a talk. Maybe you can write a book. Maybe that's the way you can minister to people, is by writing a book. You could be a firefighter and, write a book. Just try something out that would be involved with being a priest or pastoring or preaching the gospel. And then I think, like, on that, also, like, your dreams never have to die. You know what I mean? In 20 years, I could be sitting here talking about how I eventually started that brewery. There's a right time and a place for everything, and it doesn't mean that if you don't do something now, you can't do it later. I've always held on to that. Like, maybe I will become a CIA agent. Maybe I will. And maybe none of you will know about it, but I'll know, and I'll enjoy doing all my secret spy missions and being back for dinner on a Tuesday. But just because you don't do something now doesn't mean you can't do it later. So become a firefighter, and if you feel like God is calling you to become a priest or, be a pastor in a special way, and it's still in your heart, then do that. There's having a poverty mindset of all or nothing. This decision matters for the rest of my life, and I can never go back. No, you can always choose to do something else. You can stop doing something and do another thing. You can become a priest. Well, I guess it's really hard to not become a priest, but you can go to be a firefighter, then become a priest. Believe it or not, you can become a priest and discern out of that too. But, you could always stop your course of your path and try something else. Then I think last thing on this is like, the things that make you good in one job can also make you good in another job. The things that make you good in one like part of your life is also going to be the things that make you good in another part of your life. So, for example, you want to be a firefighter, but you feel like you have this passion for the priesthood or being a pastor or preaching God's word. Well, become a firefighter and start a Bible study. Nothing's stopping you from pastoring people at your firefighting job. So start a Bible study. Go, preach on the side. Preach in your parish. Volunteer to do the readings. Volunteer to start a men's group in your parish. There are opportunities to do the things in one job while you're doing another job. You can do parts of pastoring while you're a firefighter. So I think, these all have helped me and I pass them on to you, but I think they're also really helpful to know that like God is calling us to a lot of things. And it doesn't mean like one thing is the only thing God's ever going to call us to. That's not how God works. God's not like you're either a priest or a firefighter. That's it. Once you make the decision, I'm out of here. It's like, no, sometimes we just have to make the choice and then pivot from that choice and then pivot from that choice. I mean, I would have never thought 10, 15 years ago that I'd be living in Texas, working in the, marketing kind of video world, having a podcast. I would have never thought any of this stuff. I've just kind of pivoted along the way and I've made mistakes and I've had some successes and I've just stayed open to what God has for me. So, take those have helped me. And I think it's exciting. God's calling you to many things. God's calling us all to many things. And it's exciting to the things he's calling us. And it should excite us. It shouldn't like bring us dread that we have to make the perfect decision because, go for it. Have your, clean hands, pure of heart and make a decision. And if it's, you want to make a different one, make a different one. Kind of don't put so much pressure on you have to make the perfect decision right now at this sermon in your life. In terms of career, hobbies, what should I do with career? Obviously, if you're saying like, hey, I want to, should I get engaged to this girl? Should I break up with her? Maybe that's maybe a little bit more of a decision you should make. Have some really good discernment with that. But in terms of like, hey, I have two parallel careers I want to do. Just, be open, go down the both, see, weigh what you can do well in both, and then trust that God's going to be able to, work all things to the good when you're following him. Thank you for that question, by the way. I thought that was a great one. I think we all deal with that. Next question. I was sick of waiting for my life to start. For some context, I was told all my life I was meant for greatness. I was intelligent, creative, and a good student. I was told if I worked hard, took my opportunities when they came, I would go far. Maybe that's pride. I don't know. Tragedy happened in my life, and my life went off the rails. Some details here I'll pass through, but life maybe hadn't gone well for this person. The person goes on to say, I'm angry at God, feel more abandoned than ever. I'm tired of waiting for my life to start. I don't want to be like this, constantly waiting for something that's never going to happen. I want to live again. I don't want to spend the rest of my life waiting. I can't get myself motivated. Does anyone else relate to this? So, first of all, yes, I relate to that. I think a lot of people relate to that. This feeling of, I can be happy when this happens. I'm not happy now. I'm not feeling peace now, but I'll be happy when I get that job, when I get that house, when I get more friends, when I get more respect, when I get the promotion, if I get into that college. I'll be happy once people think of me a little better. I'll be happy once I get that girlfriend. I'll be happy once I have a little bit more money and I can put some money in savings. I'll be happy when I actually have spending money. I'll be happy when I get famous. I'll be happy when I become an athlete. I'll be happy if I make the team. There's all these things we put in the way of our happiness, our peace, our joy, because of things we don't have. And I think it's the great tragedy of our time. Because of social media, because of media in general, because of all this connectedness, because we see so much of what's going on in other people's lives, and it's super curated, we see so much of what we don't have. You go on to social media, you read the news, you talk to people, everyone is talking about things that are not going on in your life. It's like everything that's happening is something that's not happening in your life. It's like, hey, I want to go to the Olympics. Hey, I want to go on a trip. I want to go there. Hey, I want to have that. That looks like a fun restaurant. Hey, that's a cool college. That's a cool college experience. Hey, I wish I had money. Oh my gosh, you get 20 days of PTO. Oh, I could. Everything we see, we're inundated with things we don't have. And it's only natural to start looking at our own life and say, well, why don't I have these things? Am I missing out? YOLO, you only live once. It's a really big thing of our time. YOLO, just do it. Fear of missing out is so prevalent nowadays. And it can be really difficult to see everything else going on in the life and not compare. Now, we've heard this a lot recently. Comparison is the thief of joy. It's so easy to compare ourselves to others and see what everyone else has and everything I don't have. And when our security is not in God and not in, when our identity is shaky, and when we put our identity and our security into things of this world, in money, in power, in fame, in cars, in material things, but we don't have those things, then we don't have identity, then we don't have security, then we're insecure. So if we need the nicest car to feel good about ourselves, we're going to buy the nicest car, and then in 1 year, that won't be the nicest car anymore. There will be another nice car, a newer model of that car. And since we've put our identity in having the nicest car, there's now going to be people that have nicer cars than us. So we're going to be upset. We're going to feel empty. So it's a really, really big tragedy in our time. We look and compare ourselves to others and look at everything we don't have, and we get upset. But I think the easiest way to not feel like you have to wait to be happy is to have gratitude for what you have. And that's really challenging. I saw something that said the human mind can't be depressed and grateful at the same time. Like, it uses the same part of the brain. Now, I'm not a neuroscientist, I'm not a psychologist, so check me on it if you know about this. Drop a comment if you know what I'm talking about. But it said the part of the brain for gratitude and depression is like the same. So it's impossible to be depressed and grateful at the same time. And gratitude is one of those things that you have to practice to make perfect. When everything's on fire around you, you feel like you're waking up and you're not happy and things are going wrong, it's hard to just wake up and go, oh, I'm just so grateful for everything. But when you take the time to be present, and truly look at the things in your life, and you're able to be grateful and say, thank you, God, for this, it can start to put into motion an attitude of gratitude. It can start to put into motion a lifestyle of saying, wow, I actually have a lot in my life to be grateful for. When I got Bell's palsy, it kicked something in my brain that said, wait a second, my face can't move, but every other part of my body is healthy. My legs, my feet, my arms, my back, my spine, my brain, so much of my body was healthy. It's just I couldn't move one part of my face. It actually made me really, really grateful for my health. It's when you jam your finger in a car door and a little bit of your fingers gets slammed and you're literally in writhing pain and you're like, my life is miserable because of this pain. And it's just a little part of your body could throw off the whole perspective on life. So putting into practice gratitude, putting into practice daily gratitude can really, really help us be present and help us look at our life and say, hey, my health, anyone who loves me, internet to write, able to pay for internet or have someone pay for you for internet, to be able to write this question, not facing the threat of, maybe violence in your country. Look at people in the Middle East who are just sitting there. The people in Eastern Europe just have war in their hometowns, their homeland. So yeah, maybe things haven't gone exactly how you want them to go in your life, but there's still a lot to be grateful for. And when we can sit back and thank God for the things in our life, it sets into motion a mindset of saying, hey, you know what? I don't necessarily need a better job or a girlfriend or more money or, more experiences to be happy. I can actually be happy with the things that I have, and I'm super grateful for them. This is hard. This is a challenge. This is a daily challenge. I've been growing in this year after year after year, and there's times where I'm totally take for granted all the things in my life. And then there are times where I look at everything that I have and everything that's been given to me, and I'm just like overcome with gratitude. We're like, wow, I feel too lucky. Like, I feel lucky that God has blessed me with all these things, friends, family, people, opportunities. Like, obviously, these things in my life that I've talked to and I've shared with. I'm so grateful for them. Let's be grateful, and let's not wait for life to start to be happy. Okay, next and final, we are going to take a question from the internet regarding the absolutely insane, terrible, wild news that happened over the weekend regarding President Trump. Everyone saw President Trump. There was an attempted assassination on his life. So I didn't know if I wanted to talk about this or not. And I didn't want to add to something that was super sensitive, but also add to something that I had nothing really to say, because it's just so crazy and terrible that our country's got to this. But I saw a question that I thought was relevant for this podcast in terms of answering questions about our Catholic life. I thought it was relevant, and I thought it was something that I could uniquely talk about. And we'll get into it. So the question is, did God save Trump? Wow, that was a close call for Trump. Did God intervene to save him? If so, what does that mean for the person whose life wasn't saved in the audience? So I thought this was a good question because it's very philosophical. What is God's role in the things that are happening in our lives? If he has a direct role, is it all just predetermined? If he doesn't have a direct role, well, why do bad things happen? And I thought, okay, this is something I could sink my teeth into. And okay, so first and foremost, a kind of boring answer. We don't truly know why these things happen. We are not able to understand where God is, where and how and why God is allowing the things he allows, and where God is, lending a hand of divine intervention. So, secondly, I was like, all right, I want to go into see, what does the church say? What does the Catholic Church say about kind of this role of God's will? The Catholic Church talks about the Catholic Church differentiates between God's active will and his permissive will. God's active will refers to the things that he directly causes, while his permissive will refers to things which he allows to happen. This concept helps explain the existence of suffering in the world. So, the Catechism goes on to say, God is in no way directly or indirectly the cause of any moral evil. So let's just get that out there. God is not the cause, indirectly or directly, of any moral evil in the world. He permits it, however, because he respects the freedom of his creatures and mysteriously knows how to derive good from it. So, this is hard. This is a hard teaching. This is a hard thing for our human brains to wrap our heads around, because we have strong emotions and we hate suffering. And in fact, so much of our world is trying to lessen suffering in our lives. So we say God mysteriously knows how to bring good from bad things. This thing that happened over the weekend at Prince, this is bad. This is evil. Absolute evil in the world. Try to take the man's life, and did take the life of someone else. How could anything good come from that? You know what I mean? It digs down deep in our hearts. It can test our faith. It can test our intellect. With God, we say, wait, God, so you allow these things and pain to suffering? Well, it's so mysterious, but God, help us out. Help us out a little bit. And in the face of that evil, in the face of that suffering, we're able to see God a little bit. And we're able to see what humans can do even in the face of suffering. Even in the face of evil, humans can still be good. Because good will always conquer evil. What is the example of this? Well, there was an attempt on President Trump's life. One person's life was taken. And his name was Corey. And he was a firefighter, and he was a father, a girl dad. He was a father of 2 girls, loving husband, good Christian man. So in the face of pure evil and in the face of terror, in the face of tragedy, Corey threw himself over his family and protected them from the shots. And he gave his life protecting his family. So even in the face of pure evil, humans could still stand up and do good and show that you can be a hero. Corey was a hero even in a tragedy. So yes, it's a terrible, 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 terrible thing to happen. But this was a public servant who gave his life for his family. So, did God save Trump? Well, no, he didn't directly. I don't know. I don't know if he did or didn't save him directly and move the bullet here and there. But I do know that in a moment where tragedy is striking, God's goodness was still there. And again, evil wants to cast out and get rid of all goodness. But part of the mystery that the Catechism is talking about is that there can still be some goodness that comes when evil is present. Where sin is, grace abounds. So that's kind of my perspective on this question. Obviously, it's a tragedy. Obviously, it's very sad. But, sad state of our country. It's a sad state of our country that things have gotten to this point. But I thought it was again the kind of metaphysical, philosophical question to this of where's God where's God's direct hand to this or indirect hand. I thought was interesting for me to talk about. So, leave a comment, drop a comment, let me know what you think about that, and then let's also say prayers for our country, say prayers for everyone because we need it. And in an insane reminder that we do not know the time or the place in our life when it will end, and that we need God more than ever. And these are crazy times, and we need God we need God more, and we need examples of heroes and examples of goodness like Corey more than ever. So we need examples more than ever like Corey to step up when times are bad. So that's going to be it for me today, y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. Drop a comment, write me an email, DM me. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about any of this stuff. I'd love to hear from you. As always, like, subscribe, share this with someone you think would like this. I appreciate y'all so much. I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace. Bye.